If you were sent to a remote island to enjoy a 10-course dining experience turned deadly, what would you do? This head chef is an absolute psycho, and he's going to brutalize these diners to truly understand his culinary vision. I'm going to break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat the head chef in The Menu. This group of foodies are about to realize that they've bitten off a lot more than they can chew. Waiting at the dock for their expensive trip to a remote island, Tyler and his girlfriend Margot get ready to enjoy a $1,250 per head multi-course dinner. He insists that the girl stop smoking so she can fully enjoy the amazing food they're about to eat. And that's when he knows the other restaurateurs arrive, including this group of business partners, an older couple, and this famous food critic. Tyler and Margot walk into the ship, watching as this actor George and his assistant Felicity pass by them to sit down. Shocked, Margot mentions that she's seen all of his movies. This waiter passes by and hands them a serving of raw local oyster with lemon caviar and an oyster leaf. The appetizer looks amazing, but they're soon going to realize that the taste of these meals are going to be much harder to acquire. Lining up to check their names, the waiter Elsa names off Tyler and another woman. Flustered, he informs her that there was a change of plans, interrupted by Margot, who introduces herself. The waiter gathers all of her guests and introduces them to Hawthorne Island, a 12-acre paradise fit for only the most high-class foodies. They're introduced to this Nordic smokehouse where they're keeping 152 day-aged cow meat inside. Next, the waiter shows them the workers' living quarters, a prison-like single room where everyone but the head chef sleeps. She explains that the workdays begin at 6 a.m. and it takes 5 hours to finish their food prep. The dinner will last 4 hours and 25 minutes, usually ending around 2 in the morning. Walking to the restaurant, Tyler questions who lives in this giant mansion on the side. Elsa informs her that it's the head chef's residence, and no one, including the workers, are allowed inside. The guests are taken inside to the luxury restaurant, watching as the cooks work tirelessly on their upcoming dinner. Everyone sits down to prepare for the appetizers, while Elsa here informs them not to photograph their dishes. Tyler walks up to a staff member and comments on the dish, continuing to question the man on where the chef is. He's ordered to take a seat, and the cook mentions that dinner is going to be served soon. That's when the main man Julian Slowik walks in and glares at Tyler for a split second. This man is about to ruin everyone's lives, and they have no idea. Okay, this chef here is about to make these people's evenings a living nightmare. They've all signed up for a luxury dining experience, but what they're about to realize is that chaos is on the menu. Margot is a fish out of water. She's been invited by Tyler to go to a dinner after his other date dropped out and isn't even supposed to be here. Everyone going on this trip either has money or is in the food world and are totally used to and even snobby about this whole over-the-top experience. The luxury food world may be extreme and cultish, but there are other signs that can help Margot realize her life is in danger. Now, going to a private island sounds really nice, and you might think that getting invited to go is hitting the jackpot. But if Margot looks at the people around her, she would realize that being in their company is a very bad sign. On the pier, she can tell that between the finance bros and the jaded married couple, she's not exactly going to be lifelong friends with her fellow patrons this evening. She recognizes the man in the jaded married couple and isn't happy to see him, and the finance bros are already prepared to get wasted before they even hit the deck. Once she's on board, she can also tell that the actor is more concerned with being recognized in the food, and his assistant totally hates him and doesn't want to be there. When they reach the island, the food critics are also caught up in critiquing the experience, and they haven't even been seated for their meal yet, which means that nobody here is actually here for the food at all, and that would make me question why I'm even here to begin with. Tyler, who's a foodie and worships the chef, isn't the greatest guy to be around either. He invites Margot after someone else has dropped out and scolds her about her approach to eating. If it were me, I would have to ask myself who's the chef that has assembled this ensemble of misfits and why these terrible people are so drawn to him and his food. In researching him, I would then find out his backstory of being a small-time burger cook with a wife and child to being a prolific isolated chef that now lives on this island with only his team around him to keep him company. Not only is his career trajectory extreme, but living on an island with only the people that work at your restaurant isn't just cultish, it actually sounds like a cult. Judging from the devoted behavior of his servers too, that conclusion is not far off. Now, that doesn't mean that everyone that takes their work and their profession seriously is a cult leader, but if I were in Margot's position, I would have to think about all this information together and realize I'm not in the safest of situations. Margot has just taken a boat to an isolated island with no way of leaving, surrounded by terrible people who are there to eat food they don't even seem interested in, and she's now at the mercy of a head chef who hasn't left his island for God knows how long. It's not exactly a recipe for success, so rather than get off the boat after eating the oyster, I would ask them to turn it around because I just realized I have a shellfish allergy and need to get out of there. The first dish served is a compressed and pickled cucumber melon with milk snow and charred lace. This food critic here comments that she tasted a scent of goat. Meanwhile, the various guests converse amongst themselves. Margot mentions to Tyler that she's not into this fine dining, questioning why people care so much about the food, and Tyler here compares it to a work of art with raw materials. That makes one course down, with 9 more to go. The next course is ready to be served, with the chef taking his final taste test. They put the finishing touches on each dish, and this head chef Slowik introduces himself to the guests, informing them of what to expect through the 4-hour meal. He insists they don't eat the food, but taste it as much as possible. Now the course is served. Slowik names it the island, containing plants picked from around the island sitting on a rock from the shore. He announces that each dish has been completely untouched by anything but nature, and ends the speech on a somber note. Margot looks at Tyler, surprised that he cried during the depressing speech. The guests take their first bites of the multi-course dinner with mixed reactions. The food critic here compliments how rich the taste is, but the others aren't so satisfied. Many of the people here don't really care about the food or the experience, but they're going to soon be forced to love it. That's 2 courses down, with 8 more to go. Now the next course has been prepared. Slowik loudly claps and explains the history of bread, mentioning that it's been around for 1,200 years, and reveals that 65% of agriculture is comprised of grain. He explains that bread is the food of a common man, but these patrons aren't common men, introducing the next meal as a breadless bread plate. Confused, the diners laugh at Slowik's next course, believing it to be a joke. Felicity here reads out that the bread they're not eating was crafted in help with the Tehachapi grain project, calling it outrageous to have this be their next meal. The food critic Lillian overanalyzes it and comments that the condiments have a slight split inside them, which shows Slowik's attention to food detail. Tyler tries to explain the point of this exotic meal to Margot, explaining that the full course dinner has an overarching theme that is told through each dish. Margot scoffs at this empty meal and insists there should be some kind of edible food on the plate. He continues to taste the condiments and asks Margot if she's going to try. Margot refuses, and the man leans over to grab her plate, dropping her glass of wine onto the floor. Slowik walks over, questioning why the girl hasn't tried her meal. She tells him there's no food, and she's saving herself for the next courses. But Slowik informs her that the portion sizes have been adjusted to fit their appetites perfectly. That's when he slowly walks over to this older lady, planting his forehead against hers, while the other patrons look confused. That's 3 courses down, with 7 more to go. Slowik introduces the next course as memory, a dish made to recall memories, explaining that he grew up in Waterloo, Iowa. Every Tuesday was taco night. He walks over to the older lady and reveals that she's his mother. Slowik continues to explain that one Tuesday, his father came home drunk and wrapped a telephone cord around the lady's neck. Slowik here was forced to stab him in the thigh with a pair of kitchen scissors to make him stop. He adds that stabbing him in the throat would have been better, but always keeps a strong memory of that Tuesday night. This man is completely crazy, and the patrons are soon going to find out that these meals are about to get a lot more interactive. Okay, Slowik here is completely oversharing. He probably needs a therapist or a priest to listen to his problems, but right now, he either really believes that the customers of his restaurant paid over $1,200 to hear his life story while they basically eat nothing, or he's completely unhinged. It's probably both. However, there's something about the way he curates his masterpieces that can give Margot insight into the fact that she and the rest of the patrons in this restaurant are in serious danger. As the chef here explains every meal, he links each one of them to a personal connection to his life or a concept he's trying to articulate. The second dish represents the island they are on and the vastness of nature compared to the small place the man has in it. In his third course, he gives them a breadless bread plate, since bread was usually food of the common people and everyone here is incredibly wealthy. The memory dish then provides information on the chef's troubled past and how he came to be who he is today. However, all this is lost on most of his patrons, and the food critics are too consumed with their own criticisms to latch on to the fact that there's blatant hostility towards the customers in these courses. The chef's specialty is bread, and everyone knows it. Purposefully refraining from giving them bread after they have spent a huge sum of money to be there is a big you to everyone in this room, but they are all too consumed by their egos and are too self-involved to see this. They think that all this could be part of a joke, but if you look at the second and the fourth course, both of these courses have been created with a sincerity and not a fleck of humor. The only reason that these people see this third course as a joke is because their opinion of themselves is so high that they don't realize the point of the dish is to tell them to go themselves. The fourth course is also important because it shows the customers the chef's moral compass isn't exactly pointing north. He's had a troubled and violent past, and to this day, still wishes that he killed his father rather than just stabbing him in the leg. This combined with the fact that the chef doesn't exactly seem to like all the people in this room, which starts setting off alarm bells about the fact that we are all on this island alone, completely at his mercy. Rather than staying here, I would privately excuse myself and not draw attention to myself while I look for the best escape routes off this island. I would also start collecting cutlery and stowing them away in case someone catches on to me while I try to find a way off the island. He introduces the course as a house-smoked breast chicken thigh al pastor with tortillas made with heirloom masa. Confused, Tyler notices that each taco has an engraved photo of him taking photos throughout the first few courses. These business partners take a look at their tortillas and are shocked to see their tax records printed out in perfect accuracy, showing how they've created invoices with fake charges. That's when the wealthy wife Anne notices a photographic-like drawing of her husband with another woman, with the husband denying any proof of the image. Margot insists they send the food back, but Tyler snaps his fingers at her, demanding that she continue eating. Margot storms off before the waiter stops her. She asks for directions to the bathroom, but questions what's behind this silver door. Elsa mentions that it's something special, and Margot walks into the bathroom, opening the small window to see a man holding large feathers outside. It's strange, but then the head chef interrupts her smoke break to question why she isn't eating his food, taking it personally. He insists the girl reveal where she's from and blocks the door to demand an answer. That's when Margot curses at the man, forcing herself outside, making that 4 courses down with 6 more to go. Slowik claps his hands to indicate the next course, but the business partner here interrupts to question what's going on. Slowik orders the man to sit before introducing his sous chef Jeremy, a culinary student from Hyde Park. The head chef explains that while he is a good chef, he will never achieve greatness. He explains that the sous chef's life is under extreme pressure, asking if he wants the head chef's life instead. Jeremy tells him no, with the chef strangely kissing him on both cheeks, before introducing the next course named The Mess. Suddenly, the man is shot, and everyone freaks out. Slowik insists that it's all a part of the show, while demanding that everyone sit down, as the staff members take Jeremy's dead body away. The mess is served with pressure-cooked vegetables, roasted filet, potato confit, beef jus, and bone marrow. Margot questions what the hell is going on, while the wealthy couple decides they're going to leave. Richard here demands they be let out, but Elsa stops them with security and asks what hand the wealthy man will handle the situation with. It's strange, but then Elsa orders him to use the ring finger on his left hand. Richard tries to run out, being restrained and having his hand forced on the table. The guards brutally slice his finger off while everyone else freaks out. This dinner has just been taken up to the next level, and the next courses are going to drive these patrons to the brink of insanity. That's when this man invites Margot to have a private chat with the head chef. She's brought over by Elsa, and Slowik here tells the girl that she's wrong, asking for her true identity. He insists the girl isn't who she says she is, and has a problem with her identity. They've designed this course for a specific group of individuals, and she isn't a part of them. He decides to ask her where she should be seated now, with Margot joking that she'll sit wherever the staff will keep her alive. Slowik tells him that everyone here is going to die, or else it would ruin the menu. Okay, things just got real. These people are in serious danger, and Margot here is on a date with a bozo who keeps eating despite someone being dead. Slowik has done personal research on everyone at this restaurant and exposing them as part of the experience. They've all just realized they aren't here only to eat, but their being here is intentional. A man is dead, and Richard has lost a finger because he tried to leave the restaurant, and things are only bound to get worse. This chef is unhinged, and they've all just unintentionally signed up for his next masterpiece. Now, getting out of this situation should be difficult. There are a ton more servers and chefs than customers, and several of them are much more physically built than the patrons. The finance bros might be able to take 1 or 2 of them out, but with their kitchen knives, the chef and restaurant staff have the upper hand. However, what everyone in this restaurant seems to be forgetting is that they all still have their cell phones. Tyler has been taking photos all night, and the actor's assistant has even tried to return her work phone to the actor after trying to quit. Even though Elsa says they don't have phone service, nobody tries to call for help to see if she's bluffing, and they have no idea whether they have service or not. Margot has already excused herself to go to the restroom without anyone checking her pockets, and it should be no problem at all getting away to make a phone call. If she calls 911 and her provider doesn't have service, her phone will automatically connect to the strongest network it can find. Not having service isn't necessarily the end of the road, and at least trying to place a call in an emergency situation is better than continuing to eat. In the case that Margot isn't able to connect with any kind of network, the restaurant guests have to band together. Even though everyone in this restaurant is sort of an idiot, having allies is our best means of escape. I would first try to conspire with the finance bros, because even though they wouldn't give us a huge physical advantage over the staff, they are the most likely to not want to go down without a fight, based on the fact they immediately panicked and looked for a solution when they received their tortillas. I would first try to create a distraction. Although the chef doesn't care whether we live or die, he does care about his menu and the way the evening unfolds. By having someone fake a medical emergency, this will distract the chef and the restaurant until I'm able to get into the kitchen and threaten to blow the whole place up by creating a gas stove fire. There is also grease available and an open flame. If we play our cards right, we may be able to grab a pan and throw hot oil in the faces of Slowik and the staff. Taking out Slowik would be the best option, because although some of the staff will be loyal to him even after he passes, convincing others to abandon his mission will be easier once he's dead. In most cult situations, once the leader dies, the infrastructure crumbles. Finding out how Slowik wants to kill us too would be useful, because if I destroy the supplies he has to use, he'll have to deviate from the plan, which will buy us more time. The chef is a perfectionist, and throwing him off course might cause him to break down, or make him change the menu altogether. Slowik gives her 50 minutes in between courses to make a decision, inviting her to sit down for the next course. She walks over to Tyler and slaps him while he questions what happened over there, not realizing what terrifying things Slowik just told her. That's 5 courses down with 5 more to go. The palate cleanser served with wild bergamot and red clover tea is sent out as the next course. Meanwhile, actor Dave walks over to the business partners and insists they need to act now, mentioning that they could take their cutlery and storm the kitchen. Suddenly, Bryce here decides to smash the window, grabbing his chair and smashing against the glass with no success. He's ordered back to the table and Slowik claps, and his staff pours cups of tea to calm the patrons. He gives the diners a chance to ask questions, and Tyler here asks what ingredient they put inside his drink. That's when George gets up and demands answers to what this long dinner is all about. The chef tells his guests to think of themselves as ingredients in a tasting concept, and they're shocked. He questions why this is a surprise to them, confronting the food critic Lillian on the damage she's done to so many with her line of work. He walks over to her partner and insults him for being a suck-up, while a large bowl of broken emulsion is served to her. The wealthy man's wife insists that her husband needs to be taken to a hospital. Slowik reminds him that he's eaten here 11 times and should consider himself blessed to even be here, asking for one dish he ate the last time. His wife mentions that it was cod, but Slowik angrily corrects her, telling them that it was halibut. That's when this guy argues that this isn't his restaurant, but an investor by the name of Doug Varick who has funded the entire experience. He reveals the ownership has changed, turning the lights on outside to show his investor hanging mid-air with a set of feathers attached to his body. The patrons are shocked to see what happened with Doug and beg that the dinner be put to a stop. Slowik refuses to let them go, but one of the business partners decides to make a run for it and trips over on the way out. They then hear Doug begging to be released from outside as he's slowly lowered into the water and drowns to death. That makes 6 courses down with 4 more to go. Okay, this man has just killed someone right in front of the restaurant patron's eyes. This time the person dead is the investor who funded his restaurant all of these years and even kept him open during the pandemic. If there's truly a sign that he's totally serious about carrying out his menu and doesn't care what happens anymore, this is it. There's absolutely no reasoning with this man, and trying to derail him is useless. However, we know nothing about his staff. We do know that one of them was envious of him and was willing to be a part of the courses. The others might share similar ambitions, and even though they are all devoted to him, some of them may be willing to break rank and help us in order to carry out their own career aspirations. Now, most of these people seem extremely devoted to him, but even in the most extreme cult situations, there are those that question the system. Rather than speak to all of the staff to get their side of the story and draw attention to myself, I would again have one of the other guests create a diversion, like taking photos of the kitchen so I can slip out of the restaurant while everyone is distracted. I would go into the staff's living quarters and look for any personal items that have been stowed away, like family portraits or a diary. The staff here look like they are supposed to live fairly minimalist lifestyles, so they might not be able to keep much, but anyone that has any small trinket from the outside world hidden away in their bed could be an ally to us. I would then return to the dining room and I would tell Lillian to try to bribe them. Since the cooks underneath the chef are also living this lifestyle out of passion for their craft, Lillian wouldn't just be able to approach her about money or riches, but she would have to appeal to their shared love of food. She would have to abandon her whole know-it-all act and go back to basics and talk about why she loves food and align herself with a staff member that she too has gotten caught up in the extremes of the culinary world. Once she has aligned herself with this person, then she can use them to place a call to someone on land. By doing this, Margot and the rest of the customers are able to quietly call for help without alerting the chef that we are trying to get off the island. Margot's 50 minutes is over and the waiter informs her that Slowik will now speak with them in his office. She walks in, telling the man that he was right. She's not meant to be here at this remote island dining experience. Slowik refuses to acknowledge her answer and says that she fits right in with the other staff, mentioning that she knows the girl works a low-class service industry job. That's when he questions why Margot was looking at the wealthy old man throughout the evening. Margot reveals that she's a high-class escort. The woman had been hired by the rich man to pretend to be his daughter, telling him she loved him in a session together, and since then, she's hated her job. The chef understands, admitting that he used to enjoy cooking for people, but now he hates it. Slowik takes her out of his office and informs the patrons that he has something to show them outside. Everyone is terrified, and Slowik presents the next course from another female sous chef, Catherine. She greets everyone and explains a story where the head chef tries to make love with her, but she refuses. Slowik kept her as a cook, but refused to look or speak to the girl for 8 months. That's when she introduces the next dish as Man's Folly. Slowik walks over to the girl, being stabbed in the thigh with a tiny pair of scissors. The patrons cringe, watching as she wipes his own blood on the man and walks off. Suddenly, Slowik announces that the male diners are offered a chance to escape with a 45-second head start. Okay, this is exactly the kind of distraction that could be an advantage for the guests. The men are all on the run, and the restaurant staff are in charge of chasing after them. Although not all of the staff is distracted, the guests are already outside, so they don't have to break any windows or take down any staff to reach the outdoors. If it were me and I was Margot, I would try to start a fire on the island to signal to any passing planes that there's a distress here. Someone might try to stop me before I run into the forest myself, since none of the women are supposed to participate. So I would also plan to give the finance bros my lighter to start a fire. Now, Margot is a smoker, so this makes finding a lighter or book of matches super easy, and as soon as she hears that the men are allowed to go free, she should slip it to one of these guys. There's a forest surrounding the restaurant where the men are supposed to run to. Once I'm able to find a tree, I would climb up into its branches and then set it ablaze. This would hopefully grow and catch the attention from any passing by planes or boats. When the patrons get on the boat to come to the island, they are informed that it's only a quick trip over here, so if the fire grows big enough, it's even possible that people on the mainland will be able to see it. Smoke signals are a very common practice with people that are stranded alone, but they take a little more effort to make rather than just a normal fire. If I had the time, I would make a fire on the ground and smother it with twigs and branches. Some people use wet blankets to smother the flame and create white smoke, so I would also take off my shirt and throw it in a body of water to dampen and use it once the fire has been set. One of the problems with the smoke signal is I'll have to be on the ground for longer, which will make it easier for the restaurant staff to find me and put it out. If the fire's in the trees, then they'll have to climb up into the trees, endangering themselves. To help myself escape after setting the fire, I would jump from the branches and run as far as I can without being caught. I would then find another tree somewhere far off, separated by the beach, so that it won't catch on fire, and hide there while the staff tries to contain it. Alcoves in the water or small caves where I can hide myself would do too, but the important thing here is to create a large enough flame and hide long enough that they grow frustrated and have to abandon looking for me. It's important to start the fire to get off the island and help the other customers, but even if it's not lit long enough, it provides a great distraction to at least save myself while the others become a part of the next course. I couldn't mention any of this plan to Tyler either because he's such a suck-up, he would probably tell the chef what I have planned before I'm able to do it. The business partner runs first, with everyone else but Tyler following. He's the last to leave, and Catherine invites the women inside for their female-only part of the course. Following after her, they're served Man's Folly, made with Dunkinese crab, fermented yogurt whey, dried sea lettuce, umeboshi, and kelp. Lillian compliments the sous chef on the detailed taste, but Catherine refuses to take her compliment and begins sobbing. The wealthy wife Anne confronts Margot here about knowing her husband, while the others question why they have to die after the final course. The sous chef explains the multi-course meal needs a proper ending, revealing that it was her idea to kill them. Meanwhile, the male patrons are chased through the forest, but the staff members catch them in quickly, with no one managing to escape. Ted here hides in the chicken pen, but then he's discovered and served a Bassard egg for being the last person captured. The girls continue talking, with Margot revealing that her name is actually Erin from Massachusetts. That's when the men arrive back, all bruised and bloodied from the frantic chase. That makes 7 courses down, with 3 more to go. Slowik interrupts their multi-course dinner to mention that they need to deal with the unresolved problem of Tyler. He walks over and questions why the man is here, asking what he was told before coming. He answers that it was going to be a chance to taste the greatest menu ever created, and that everyone would die. Slowik points out that Erin was supposed to be the girl across from his table. Tyler admits that his girlfriend broke up with him, and he brought Erin along knowing that she would die. Hearing this, she freaks out and hits him before being stalked by a worker. Slowik reveals they've been in contact for 8 months, and swore him to secrecy knowing how much he loved food, telling Tyler that he knows so much that he belongs in the kitchen. Suddenly, he invites the patron to enter his kitchen, giving him a chef's jacket and writing Tyler's name on it. He rushes him into the kitchen and explains that Tyler will now serve the next dish. Questioning what he needs, Tyler asks for leeks and shallots sauteed in butter with lamb. He rushes to cook the dish, while everyone carefully watches. Tasting it, Slowik disappointingly berates his creation and whispers into his ear something that shocks him. Tyler bows at the chef and walks off. That makes 8 courses down, with 2 more to go. Slowik apologizes for the sloppy dish and calls over Margot and informs her that the final course is coming, which means they must prepare desserts for after. He scolds Elsa for forgetting to bring a barrel needed for the dessert and informs Margot that she'll be assigned to bring it. He tells the waiter to give Margot the smokehouse keys, and the woman walks away, noticing her date's dead body hanging in a cellar. Okay, so Margot is free to go and can execute multiple different plans. She can try to start a fire to signal signs of distress, or she can go looking for a phone to place a call outside of the island. However, there's one other thing she can do to ensure her and the other patrons' safety. Rather than trying to escape at this moment, I would choose to fight back against the chef and kill him and the restaurant staff, rather than let them kill us. The staff all live and work here, which means they have to have tons of supplies stockpiled to use whenever necessary, which means that they'll have more than enough cleaning supplies hidden somewhere nearby. I would look through the stock room while on my way to the smokehouse and find household supplies that are not meant to be consumed, and bring them back and mix them with the contents of the barrel that's going to be used for dessert. The staff all have to taste and eat the dessert while they make it, which means that using the contents of the barrel to cook will then poison them. Ideally, this would kill them, but the amount that they consume may not be enough to do that, but it will be enough to at least make them sick, which will give us the opportunity to fight back against them. The problem with physically fighting the staff before is that there are only 12 customers and many more staff members on the island. By making them sick, it makes them easier to take down and control. Once the staff begins to grow ill, the restaurant patrons should collect cutlery like steak knives to defend themselves. The staff may be better with knives, but once they are weakened, they won't be able to fight back properly. The patrons should gain control over the kitchen as soon as possible, because the kitchen has the most potential for weaponry. Appealing to the staff that we think could stray from the pack would have been a much cleaner approach, but because there are so many of them around all the time, and most of them are loyal to the chef, there's never an opportunity to make them break ranks. The restaurant patrons will have to get physical, and once they start taking control over the kitchen and the island, they should try to convince the staff that are on the fence about dying to join their side. Once the chef's control has been challenged, this makes him more vulnerable to lose disciples. The other positive thing about putting cleaning supplies in the chef's food is that it spoils his meal. By doing this, it throws off the menu and his perfect plan. This whole night is about creating the perfect experience and will anchor him and force him to make mistakes that we can take advantage of. George here gets up to kindly ask the head chef why they're being punished. Slowik informs him that he watched the film Calling Dr. Sunshine and didn't like it. The memory of his face in the film disgusts the chef, mentioning that the man has lost his shine and sees him as a failing artist. That's when he moves his attention to his assistant, using her full paid ride through college as a reason for her to die as well. Meanwhile, in the smokehouse, Erin searches for the barrel and discovers a large knife inside the building. Walking outside, she finds the head chef's house and looks for a way in, now realizing that someone is watching her. She heads upstairs into this dark room, turning the lights on to find a kitchen identical to one in the restaurant, and with this mysterious silver door at the end. She tries to open it, but suddenly Elsa here reminds her that no one's allowed inside the chef's house. The waiter takes Erin's knife and reveals that she's been a problem ever since arriving. Scared, Marco walks closer, asking why she would die for the man, and Elsa admits that she doesn't want to be replaced. The patron is confused, but that's when Elsa attacks her. Erin runs off, being chased around the kitchen before Elsa drops her weapon. The women get into a brutal fight with each other before Erin grabs this Paco jet and throws it at her. Suddenly, Erin brutally pushes the knife into Elsa's neck and kills her. She searches her dead body for the key to the silver door and slowly walks towards it, finding a room full of memorabilia about Slowik. Erin spots this old picture of the chef from his burger flipping days, and then realizes that there's a working radio in the room, using it to call for help. Meanwhile, in the restaurant, this business partner is being served a birthday cake when Erin returns with the barrel. Slowik insists the girl take a seat and sits down with him. He explains that he used to be a monster, but this dinner is made to be a pure evening, dimming this candle with his fingers. Suddenly, the patrons spot a boat in the distance, and Slowik realizes that she found the radio. Slowik demands the dining room be cleared. The head chef explains that they'll be tempted to ask the Coast Guard for help, threatening that they'll kill the boat driver. The boat officer walks in to question Slowik about a disturbance on the island. The chef insists that nothing is wrong, and they're currently in the middle of service, while the officer asks if anyone called in a distress signal recently. That's when the officer notices George and mentions that he's a big fan, asking for an autograph. He gladly signs it while telling the actor that he loved Calling Dr. Sunshine, the same movie that Slowik here despises. He apologizes for the trouble and walks out to look at his autograph, discovering that it reads, "Help us." Suddenly, he pulls out a gun, ordering everyone to keep their hands up. That's when the patrons loudly confess that Slowik is trying to kill them, pointing towards the head chef and demanding he sit down with his hands up, insisting that no one moves. The officer uses his gun to relight a candle, and everyone realizes that this was part of the dinner. Slowik here walks over to Erin and scolds her for being so careless, making it clear she's going to be executed. Now the staff prepare for their final course, but then the woman gets a clever idea. That's when Erin slaps her hands and confesses that she doesn't like their food, asking to send it back. Slowik walks over to question what exactly is wrong with it. She tells the head chef that he's taken the joy out of eating, wanting a simple meal that she can relax and enjoy. Slowik insists that they cook every meal with love, but the girl refuses to believe his statement. Confronting the man, she tells him that he's been cooking with an obsessive amount of detail, killing the fun of a relaxing dinner, mentioning that she's still hungry for a good meal. Surprised, Slowik questions what she wants with the girl, responding that she wants a plain simple cheeseburger without the added pretentiousness of this entire evening. Cooking up a delicious cheeseburger and fries, he hands over the dish to Erin. She takes a bite and compliments him, but asks to have it to go. He hands the dish over with a gift bag, and Erin pays $10 for her meal, thanking him for all the trouble. That makes 9 courses down with 1 more to go. Walking out, she takes a look at the other silent patrons and leaves them behind in the restaurant. They watch as an artistic blend of food ingredients are placed onto the floor, with Slowick announcing that their dessert is a twist on a modern food classic, the s'more. A disgusting mix of unethically sourced chocolate and gelatinized sugar water that are wrapped around each patron, which will be transformed with fire. Suddenly, he grabs a flaming coal, walking into the middle of the dining hall and announcing that he loved them all, dropping it and setting off a massive fire. Meanwhile, Margot here manages to drive this boat back towards the mainland when the engine stalls and she gets out of the cabin to see the restaurant burning. That makes 10 courses down and the kitchen has closed. With nothing else to do, she eats her cheeseburger and reflects on the lesson she just learned. Gourmet meals suck. But what do you think? How would you beat the menu? Let me know with a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like and subscribe, and check out the How to Be playlist for more videos like this. Until next time, have a damn good day.